Welcome to Allie's Attic, where you never know what kind of surprise you'll find in my attic. I'm your host, Allie, and today my surprise is a woman who didn't unlock the door to rock music until she was 21 years old. I'm going to let her tell you all about that and all about her musical experience, and she's amazing. Please welcome Mandy Rowden. Hi, Mandy.
Hey, Allie. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on. Um, so basically, you were born into a fundamentalist Baptist household. You were
Yes.
homeschooled. You were
Yes.
only allowed to listen to gospel and classical music. Um,
Yes.
Tell me all about that right up to your Americana now.
Well, yeah. My parents went through what we kind of joke about now is a pretty crazy religious phase. They're not in that same place anymore, so we're able to laugh about it. But yeah, we were kind of sequestered into this crazy Southern Baptist world for a while, and one of the many what I think of as kind of weirdo beliefs that was held was that anything with too heavy of drumming or too electric of guitars was, somehow of the devil. I don't
Yes,
know if they
yes.
ever used exactly those words, but that was the sentiment. And so it was just kind of off limits. And I wasn't a real rebellious kid, and I didn't really care, and I just kind of, grew up that way. And so I started playing violin, and of course everything had to be classical, which now I don't enjoy playing near as much, but I'm really grateful to have that foundation. That's an awesome way to be trained.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with piano. So, between the music at the church and the music that I was playing with my teachers and the ensembles I was in, and eventually orchestras, it was just classical and gospel. And that was the extent of it, and I think I thought it was okay, and I didn't question it, I suppose.
Well,
And
you wouldn't have known any better, right? So, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, this was pre-internet, and I was just a kid. I didn't have my own little radio or anything, and I was just kind of ignorant and blissful, I suppose, with all that kind of stuff. But it's funny timing to be talking about this now, but I really think one of my first kind of open windows into secular music was when my brother brought home Tom Petty's greatest hits,
Oh my goodness.
and we must have listened to that CD like 300 times easily.
Yeah,
You
well,
know how it is at that age.
and
um,
an amazing
so
artist.
that's what we did, and it was super eye opening. And it wasn't until a few years later that I kind of busted out of my little sheltered shell and bought my first Weezer CD, and eventually, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Was all chaos from there. And I know that most people in my generation just grew up with that stuff, and it was kind of old hat, but I was slow to the party.
Mm-hmm.
And I just freaking loved it. I couldn't get enough, and somewhere in there I started playing guitar, and mostly just like acoustic guitar, actually specifically for church music, but that all kind of went by the wayside. And so around this time, my family was, coming out of this fog, if you want to call it that. Not to imply that all religious experiences are a fog, but this one certainly was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and things were just changing a lot from our family. And then I also went off to college, and so you learn the myriad things that go along with being out on your own for the first time. And so I was just having the time of my life. I was playing guitar. I was off to college. I was listening to rock and roll. And weirdly enough, my nerdy classical violin background came in handy because in Central Texas, where I was in college, what they call the Texas country scene was really having a pop at the time, and so I got a lot of gigs playing with some of the country bands around my college, and did that for several years. Still with guitar kind of on the back burner. I played a lot, but it wasn't my focus. And somewhere in there, I started writing songs. My parents divorced when I was about 21, and that was a real catalyst for me needing just like an expression, some sort of medium for dealing with all of that. And so that was where songwriting began for me. Um,
Wow.
so that's really where I came out of my shell completely, and when it comes to music, at least. So since then, I've been writing and playing guitar in different bands, and working on my own music and playing fiddle, and I've also played keys in bands. I've played mandolin, I've played drums and bass. And so along the way, I've just been picking up different instruments that are fun for me and finding work that way. And then just over 10 years ago, I moved to New York City and spent all my money. And I came back to Texas. I came back to Austin, where I've been teaching violin and piano to little kids for a long time. And I was just broke out of my mind, and I thought I could pay my phone bill if I threw together this women's guitar class. So I did, and we had such a great time that after the initial class was done, we kept the thing going, and now it's been over 10 years. We just celebrated our first decade of what we call Girl Guitar, which is the women's guitar school based in Austin and now Nashville, that hosts about 35 classes a week, and everything from beginning guitar through songwriting, vocals, various instruments, and then a full-on rock camp for women.
Well, congratulations.
So they can kind of jump in and live out the rock and roll dream, too, in a town where it can be really intimidating to just hop in on that kind of stuff. So between teaching and playing, I'm full-time with the music, and have been for a long time. So
that is awesome.
You know, I might just be being overly sentimental, because that happens all the time with me. But I really have been thinking a lot this week about Tom Petty.
Yeah.
And, of course, and you know, that summer or whatever that my brother brought that CD home, and kind of wondering how much of this journey was kind of spawned then, or maybe I'm just over, dramatizing it.
No, there's always,
moment, but, it definitely was a big deal.
Yeah, and there's always that push by somebody.
It was great.
There's always that push by somebody, and the fact that it was, Tom Petty, especially after what has tragically happened, is amazing, and everything happens for a reason. So that's what I believe. So yeah, you can be over sentimental. I'm gonna just go with you because I believe that. Yeah. Now your songwriting style. I love this quote, and I'm going to read it because I love it. You say, like most chick songwriters, I've been guilty of writing heavily about my thoughts and feelings on relationships. And my response is, screw it. It's what I'm feeling, so it's what I'll write. Love and lost love are some seriously universal topics, and they are. They are, so much so. And I love that you just decided, you know what, I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm writing from my heart. And you can hear it in your songs.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's definitely a good thing to hear. Sometimes in the writing process, you lose any semblance of objectivity. Like, I don't know anymore how this sounds or how this is going to be received, or that kind of stuff, just because that's the way it goes for a lot of people. But yeah, I started out heavily writing that way, and I kept telling myself, you got to branch out, and I wasn't really branching out, and I felt so guilty about it. I thought I'm wasting myself and my talent, or whatever you want to call it. And then it's like, at some point, I realized, why am I beating myself up? Who cares what I write about? The joy here, the point is to create, not to only create perfect, well-rounded subject matter, but, I'm going to go through the phases that I'm going to go through, and right now it's boys, and later it might be something else.
Well, and
whatever, I'm just going to roll with it.
That's why songs relate to everybody, though, because everybody goes through somewhat of the same experiences with love and lost love and, parents divorcing and all that stuff. So that's one of the best things about songwriting is you can write a song about something that you're going through, and it's going to, thousands of other people are going to be able to relate to it. So I think writing from your heart is very important, and I'm really, really, really glad you do. I'm just saying.
Well, thank you. I'm going to tell my jerk friends you said that. They can leave me alone for a bit.
Ah, that's funny.
I'm kidding. It's not that bad.
And it can be, right? Now, you follow your instincts and passions, just like, creating girl guitar, which you didn't think was going to be as huge as it is, but it is.
No.
And I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Thank you.
Anything to uplift women, I think, is beautiful. Being a woman. Now, you talked about being over sentimental. Like, your work contains both, like, vulnerability and determination. And it's, like you said, it's derived from a woman who's had her share of heartbreak and ecstasy, regardless of the moment, and capturing a particular feeling. And the best thing is you just love playing.
Absolutely. I really do. I cannot imagine my life without playing music. And a lot of times like a lot of musicians, the gigs aren't always very good or fun or lucrative, and the crowds can be lame some nights, and the travel can be really hard, and all the things about it. And at the end of the day, I really love playing music, and I just can't imagine doing anything else. All the hassles aside.
Yeah.
So that's true.
Well, and passion is passion. Now your debut full-length album, These Bad Habits, it's got kind of like classic rock, folk, alternative country, so basically Americana.
Yeah.
And the Austin Chronicle declared that the East Texas native kicks some butt with her pen. I like that too. And they say, while demonstrating new talent, and you're capable of writing defiantly pointed lyrics. And I'm urging everybody not to just listen to the 2 songs that I'm going to have up on my website. Go and listen to all of Mandy's work, because it's unbelievable. And there are songs that are going to relate to you. Trust me. They are. Now, this album, you had some pretty powerful people helping you out.
No kidding.
Yeah, you had, so Grammy-winning producer Lloyd Maines, who worked with the Dixie Chicks, Wilco, Robert Earl Keen on pedal steel guitar. Grammy winner Red Volkart, he's worked with Brad Paisley and Merle Haggard, he was on guitar. And Brad Rice, who's worked with Ryan Adams and Tift Merritt, who also provided additional guitar work. That's quite the collection.
Yeah, we're very lucky here in Austin. We just have so much talent everywhere, and I always joke that you can just basically throw a rock and hit a guitar player, an awesome guitar player. And then I usually joke further that you should throw rocks at them, mostly just because I'm jealous that they're better than me. But they're here, and they're awesome. And the music industry is a crazy thing right now, and a lot of these folks are looking for work, or they're just available. It's not necessarily a desperation thing, but they're here. And it was really that simple. I got connected to them through the producer I was working with, and it far exceeded my expectations for that first album. I still remember the day I found out that Lloyd Maines agreed to play on it, and I just freaking lost it. So excited. I was driving to Houston for a gig, and I just, it was all I could do to stay on the road.
Well, so, yeah, I guess. Now,
pretty exciting.
Your producer that you talked about is Joe Carroll. Best known for his work with Amy LeVere and guitar greats like Bill Kirchen and Albert Lee. And you asked him because of his love for the Americana genre. Correct?
Oh, you mean why did he end up producing the album?
Yeah, you enlisted him because of his similar background and his love for the genre.
Sort of, but there was a lot of, I hate to throw this word around, but there was a lot of kind of destiny stuff that led to working with Joe. And I met him because he used to work the door at the Saxon Pub, which is one of Austin's kind of landmark Americana songwriter clubs that I've hung out in for years, and that's how I met him. And then I met his wife, Carrie Ann Carroll, who's an awesome singer-songwriter, and became friends with her. And, I hadn't seen her in a long time, and one night I ended up in one of the neighborhood bars late night. I believe it was a Monday. It was ridiculous. I had no business being there. And there she was hanging out by herself also. And so I plopped down and we started talking. She says, I'm making a record with Joe, and it's good, here's how it's working and all this stuff. And it was just like everything lined up. And I said, I've been trying to make this album for years now. I've got so many false starts. I really need to work with the right person that can, help me see this through for a lot of different reasons. And that was really the catalyst. I think I called Joe the next day and said, let's try this. He said, whatever, that sounds fine. He was probably less excited about it than I was, but we worked great together. And I got him to produce my second album, too. And while I'm a fairly self-made person, I suppose, and I don't mind hard work, I don't think I'd be doing what I'm doing without Joe Carroll. And it was all just because of, saying yes to going to the bar.
Wow.
When I shouldn't have.
Well, like I said, everything happens for a reason.
It was very cool.
Now, okay, so Big Moon is your debut EP. And
more or less.
More or less. Even though you've had it forever, no. And you co-produced it and recorded it at Treehouse Productions in Austin, which is where you call home. What is it like?
Well, Big Moon was actually not through Treehouse.
Oh.
Treehouse is Joe Carroll's studio.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
So I did Big Moon in San Marcos where I went to college.
Okay.
And
so
it was many moons ago.
Many moons ago. So These Bad Habits, was that the one that was done at Treehouse?
Yeah, These Bad Habits and 1,000 Miles, my latest.
Okay.
Were both
on
Treehouse.
Wow. So,
there's no telling what crazy stuff my website might say, but I should probably go double check what I'm talking about this.
No, it says on the front of my website that my conversations are real and raw, so don't worry about it. Now, where do you want to go from here with your music? Like, I know Girl Guitar is going strong.
Yeah.
Do you want to get signed? Do you want to stay independent? Do you want to do another EP? Where do you want to go from here, Mandy?
Well, funny you should ask. Earlier this year, I signed my first record deal, and I'm now on a label called Howland Dog Records out of Alamosa, Colorado. And it's a small label for songwriters. And I'm kind of right in the middle of making a new record right now. We've got most of it done. I'm going back up there next week to finish vocals and then get started on the mixing and all that kind of stuff. So it's in motion.
Good.
It's due out, we're hoping, March of 2018.
Nice. Well, keep in touch with me.
I feel it on the way already. I'm
yeah,
so excited.
Exactly. Yeah, keep in touch with me, because if you want to come back on and talk about your new album or just send me singles like some of the artists do, I put it up on my website and promote it. So, yeah.
Yes, I definitely will. You can count on it.
Always here. Now, because like your experience with music is so different from anybody else I've spoken to, if you had any advice to give a young artist that was starting out, what kind of advice would you give them, like, considering your upbringing?
It kind of goes back to something that we touched on earlier. What I tell everybody, and I tell them this regularly because I teach, so I'm full of advice, whether you want it or not. If you want to play music, I really think you've got to make sure that you genuinely, deep down, love playing music and can't really do anything else. Because the business is hard, and it sucks, and it's thankless. And I think it's been all of those things for a lot of years. And then we got hit with smartphones and Instagram and things like that make it so hard for an audience to be present. And on top of all of the other battles that you fight, it's one of the worst things in the world to travel to somewhere far away and set up and pull your heart out and play for a crowd of people who are only staring at their phones. I don't know how we're going to compete with that. I don't know what's in store for musicians as it goes along, but you know, there are wonderful, wonderful things about it, but there's a lot of nights where you just come out of there and all you really gained was just, you got to sit and play music for a few hours, and that better be enough sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So if anybody is, well, here's a cliche one, I suppose, but if anybody thinks they want to get into the singer-songwriter scene because it makes them look cool, or that they're going to make a lot of money, or that it's going to be really easy, or any of those things, it's not really the case for most people.
No, it's not.
You better love the hustle, and you better love playing the music.
Yes, and have a part-time job, which most of the independent artists that come on my show do. I think people think if you're talented and you can write songs and you can play and you can put together an EP that all of a sudden, you know, you're going to be rich and famous, and it's just not the case.
No.
Now, what two songs are we going to hear from you, Mandy? I already know, and I love them, but which ones are we going to hear?
Well, it sounds like we're going to play Let Me In, which is the first single from my latest album, 1,000 Miles. And I have to throw this in here, too, and just complete my circle of dorkdom for this interview. But a DJ in Cleveland, Ohio, said that this song prompted him to call me a female Tom Petty, which I take as the highest of compliments.
Yes, definitely.
And even from the get-go of writing the song, it reminded me of Tom Petty, so I guess it all comes full circle. So that's Let Me In. And then secondly, I believe we're going to hear Were You in Love, which was written by a good buddy of mine here in Austin. He wasn't doing anything with it and gave me full permission to steal it. So I have to throw that out there. I can't take credit for writing this one, but it is a beautiful song.
Yeah, it is.
Grateful to get to perform it.
Yeah, it is. It's very good. Definitely things have come full circle for you with all the Tom Petty mentions after his passing away.
Talk about him,
yeah, I mean, everybody's talking about it right now. I mean, one of the greatest, you know, musicians. We've lost so many of them in the last little while, and now Tom Petty as well. I'm glad he influenced you. I'm glad he influences anybody, but especially you, because I got to discover you, and I got to know you, and I got to listen to your music, and now the world's going to. And I think that's a beautiful honor for him. You know what I mean? Because that's what started you off. And yeah, I think it's a wonderful honor in memory of him. So I'm really glad I had you on today. Like, unbelievable. See, everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. So, Mandy, you can purchase your music online, correct?
Absolutely. I'm on all the regular stuff, iTunes and Spotify, and then, of course, through my own MandyRowden.com.
Yes, and
really easy to find.
Yeah, and it's actually going to be linked. It'll be up on my website, and as soon as you click on Mandy Rowden's name, it will take you right to her website, so you can find out even more about her and listen to more of her music, which you're going to want to, trust me, especially if you're female. I'm just saying, some of those songs are very, very relatable. Mandy, thank you so much for coming on my show. Thank you for talking about Tom Petty. I mean, that was beautiful. And like I said, this isn't a one-shot deal, so keep in touch, and any kind of news happens, let me know, and we'll bring you back on the show.
I absolutely will. Thank you so much, Allie. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you, too. And thank you for joining me on Allie's Attic. Keep checking my website, because you never know what kind of surprises you'll find in my attic. Cheers.